Hello everybody, it is Monday, March 30th, and I'm going to give you a little bit of an update on the garden. All in all, it's looking pretty decent. Excuse you. Anyway, I got all of the sawdust pine shavings that I had that was piled right there, and I got it put down the pathway. So I just want to show you that, because that did turn out to be really good. We've had some really heavy rains, and a lot of them, and because this place is so flat, it's just, you can see it's flat here in general, that it worked out. I didn't have a lot of stuff get into the beds. You can see, you know, there are some shavings in there, but not enough to hurt. And I've been out here after, you know, big heavy rains that flooded the roads and everything around here, and I can walk out here and walk wherever I want without getting muddy. So that's pretty awesome. So let's talk about what's actually growing in here now. And this is a bed that I've showed you a lot, that came through the winter right into the spring. And I want to talk about the two end beds first and save these for last, the middle beds. But if you've been watching, or if you haven't, this middle bed is garlic. A lot of different varieties that I'm testing out. I've never grown garlic before, so I went crazy and bought like 4 varieties, and I'm testing them out. And these are not weeds in here. This is where I've interplanted it with Austrian winter peas, and you can see they've done really well, maybe too well. I got this idea from Jesse Frost over at No Till Growers, but I never was clear on exactly how he did it, how dense he planted the peas, or how long he let them grow, or if he thinned them out or cut them down, at what point he cut them down and let the garlic catch up. I don't know, but it's still doing pretty well. You can see the garlic down in there, but it's definitely not like that garlic that's not growing all up in these pea plants. So that's that. Pretty pleased with it. I've been pulling out a lot of plants, using them in immature as leeks. You might have saw a video a few days ago where I talked about that. And I still have my stray kale plants in here that I'm letting go to bolt just for the pollinators. It's really pretty looking, cool, and more to come. So yeah, I've kind of liked doing that, and I don't feel like it's hurt much in the garden. So yeah, no harm done. And this fall, when I planted the garlic bed over there, I had too many garlic bulbs. I had a few extra, so I planted this row of garlic, and I had just enough bulbs to make one row right down the middle, and you can see there. Now these are a lot bigger and a lot better looking. You can see there, it's pretty big at the base, a lot bigger than the others. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna get some pretty good sized bulbs out of these guys. And this was all one variety. I think it's called Music. I can't remember. I'll have to look at my notes and see. But it's a Creole type, supposed to be pretty hot, so probably going to be my favorite type anyway. But you can see down each side I planted peas here. These are not the Austrian winter peas, these are snow peas, and pretty fired up about that. And they're starting to get tall enough now that they're running. And I put the trellis up for them yesterday. And just so you remember, this was the old okra bed. So the stumps are still in there, still decaying, don't seem to be hurting a thing. Actually, that one's nearly turned completely to dirt, but yeah, big stumps in there, bed's looking great. Hopefully the pea plants start crawling up there soon. Oh, let's talk about the 3 new beds that I put in. First of all, what I've got in them: giant red mustard, arugula, carrots. Pretty decent germination. Really pleased with the germination on the arugula beds. I don't know if that's picking up, but yeah, little baby plants coming up. Pretty solid stand. On the giant red mustard, I've got good germination too. and they're coming up, but I don't have such a great stand. When I planted these and I got to the end of the row, on the last row, I realized that my hopper had run empty at some point. I used a lot more seed than I thought, so yeah, a few skips in there, and I'm pretty sure it's just because the seeds ran out. But this is looking good. I've got to get some more seed. But lastly, I want to talk about this row, and I am really fired up about this. So this is the carrot bed, and I want to talk about this specifically because this is a really big deal to me. I've never grown carrots successfully. I've tried over the years. I've tried many times and failed every time. This year when I was planting these beds out, I wasn't going to plant carrots because I wanted greens in there, and I didn't want to fool with having to irrigate the beds every day to keep the carrots moist so I could get the germination. But I looked at the forecast and it was going to rain for several days in a row, so I thought if I can let the rain do the work for me, I'll do that. Now I have all 6 rows, basically 100% stand of carrots. So if these die today, this is still a big milestone. I've never gotten this kind of germination with carrots before, so really pleased with that. And if I can harvest a carrot bed this year, a full bed, full crop, that will be a big deal to me. One last thing about these beds is the weeds. So I just mulched over really heavy, and there's not a lot of weeds to speak of, but I did leave these in here. So those over there were pre-existing weeds. I think that may be a dandelion, and I don't know what that thing's called, but we get it. Not too worried about that. I don't consider them all that problematic. That and this and that can be really problematic, and these are young little plants. That's nut grass, and I don't think it's growing up from the ground because I can kind of tell by the way the plants look, but I'm thinking maybe I got some nut grass seeds or whatever you call them in this compost. I don't know. It's not too much of it. I'm gonna pull it out now and just stay on top of it. But other than that, the weed pressure so far has been really minimal this year. So no dig all the way. That's where I'm going with this. And I don't like pulling weeds, and I don't like cultivating. I want to do one last thing before I get off here, because everybody likes to see a harvest, and we've been pulling a lot of these garlics out of here immature. I'm gonna have to slow up a little or I won't have any left, but they're really good. So I'm rethinking the way that I think about garlic. Maybe this could be a viable crop if somebody would buy it. I really like it. My landlord really likes it. So let's pick one. Let's see. I want one decent one for a pot of beans. I'm going to use that in place of the garlic and the onions. So there we go. Pretty decent. It's in there. Nice roots. Pulled one the other day. Really impressed with this. Nice root system. It's one of those nice purpley looking ones. So there you go. That is immature garlic, but I'm going to use it as a leek. Done a whole video on this the other day. Well, that's the garden for this spring. Really anxious to get this stuff going. For one, I want to harvest the greens, obviously, and hopefully some carrots and all this other stuff. But two, I want to get these first round of crops out because I'm really excited about what I'm going to do in the summer this year. I'm not going to focus much on greens. I'm going to focus more on the staple crops that I eat a lot of. And I'm doing a lot of experimenting in here. Pretty much everything that I showed you with the garlic, with this bed and that one, is an experiment. Even how I'm eating the garlic right now in its immature stage is an experiment. So kind of want you to remember that I do call this my test market garden. I don't actually sell right now. I'm just trying to get my hands dirty with it. And so far I've learned a lot, and you know, this experimenting this has probably been one of the funnest projects that I've done in years and years as far as gardening or anything else. So yeah, I think we're off to a good season. I'm gonna go in, cook some beans. See y'all later. Y'all be good. Bye.